Good morning, one and all. I myself Dr. M. Kishore. Today I am going to teach you regarding antibiotics. So in this chapter, we are going to cover about what are antibiotics, what is the nature of antibiotic, how antibiotics are discovered, what is the history of antibiotics, classes of antibiotics, what is the mechanism of working of the antibiotics, uses and misuses of antibiotics, or we may say that abuse of antibiotics, and how the drug resistance happen. Okay, regarding the basic points, all these things we are going to study. So let me first start with what we mean by antibiotics. Antibiotics can be defined as these are the kind of or a group of chemical substances which will kill the pathogens, especially bacteria. So these are the chemical substances which are antibacterial in nature. According to US National Library of Medicine, antibiotics are chemical substances which fight bacterial infections. Either they stop bacteria from reproducing or they kill them. By doing so, they stop the activity of disease-causing bacteria. The human body consists of mostly harmless bacteria, but there are certain pathogens which are pathogenic in nature. So these bacteria cause diseases in the human body. The first ever antibiotic which has been discovered in the year 1928 is penicillin by Alexander Fleming. It is accidental invention. So antibiotics were in use since time immemorial. So let me mention here that how the antibiotics are used in historical period. Greeks and Indians are known to use the molds to treat some infections in plants also. And some plant decoctions have been in use to cure some diseases. In Greece and Siberia, moldy bread was traditionally used to treat the wounds and infections. Warm soil was used by Russians to cure infected wounds. Sumerian doctors used to give bear soup mixed with turtle shells and snake skins. So they act as antibiotics to cure the wounds. So Babylonian doctors were known to heal the eye infections by using the mixture of frog bile and sour milk. So this is regarding the history of antibiotics. So let us see how the antibiotics were classified. So antibiotics were classified based on the chemical structure. So these chemicals are how they affect the bacterial infections. There are two kinds of antibiotics: broad spectrum antibiotics and narrow spectrum antibiotics. Penicillins are considered as the broad spectrum antibiotics. So amoxicillin and gentamicin, they are a group of penicillins only. They are known as broad spectrum. So they kill the microorganisms in a broad spectrum. The wide range of killing of bacteria happens. So hence they are called as the broad spectrum antibacterial killers or antibiotics. The narrow spectrum. Penicillin is the best example for the narrow spectrum antibiotic. So there are two ways of working mechanisms how these antibiotics work. They are called as bactericidal activity and is bacteriostatic activity. Bactericidal activity means they kill the bacteria and stop the pathogenic bacteria from reproducing further. There are another kind of things which stop the growth of bacteria without killing the bacteria, and they are called as bacteriostatic antibiotics. Let us come to see innately or naturally we have an immunity, we have a resistance power against the pathogen attack. That is natural one. Sometimes there are certain bacteria which go beyond this resistance power of a human body. At that time, we need to give chemical substance or the drugs or the antibiotics so-called from the outside. So how they work is either they kill, when they kill the bacteria and stop the growth, the working mechanism of antibiotics is known as bactericidal. When you stop the growth of bacteria without killing the bacteria, going to reduce that is called as drug resistance capacity. So these antibiotics give resistance to the growth of bacteria. What happens if they use this in overdoses? That is called as abuse of the antibiotics. Certain bacteria become resistant to these antibiotics. Such bacteria are called as drug resistant bacteria, or informally they are also called as superbugs. Superbugs are nothing but the bacteria which become resistant to the antibiotics. So what are the side effects of the antibiotic if you take in an overdose? I would like to mention few examples over here. Sulfanides are the group of antibiotics. If you take in overdoses or if its dose exceeds beyond limit, it may lead to the kidney stone formation. Similarly, cephalosporins are another kind of antibiotics. If the overdose happens, it may lead to the blood clotting. And there are another kind of antibiotics, erythromycin and aminoglycoside, which may lead to the deafness in the patient. So these are a few examples for the abuse of antibiotics. Let me take a classical example of penicillin, the ever first discovered antibiotic. It has been discovered by Sir Alexander Fleming accidentally. So he went on vacation for 2 weeks. He was working with the Staphylococcus colonies. When he came after 2 weeks, he saw that there is certain kind of mold or funguses happen to grow in these Staphylococcus colonies, and it is stopping the growth of these colonies. When he analyzed, when he see that one, he found that is nothing but Penicillium notatum. So Penicillium notatum is the fungus from which penicillin antibiotic has been discovered accidentally by Sir Alexander Fleming in the year 1928. He was a Scottish researcher. It's a broad spectrum antibiotic. Not only he produced penicillin, he also extracted the enzyme lysozyme from the Penicillium notatum pathogen.
Thank you.
Thank you.